What the Tech is brought to you by Backblaze. Unlimited online backups for just $5. No gimmicks, add-ons, or gotchas. To start your 15-day free trial, go to backblaze.com/whatthetech. Hover. Find a domain name for your idea. Go to hover.com/WTT and get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's hover.com/WTT. Hover. Domain names for your ideas. Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. It's a beautiful day here in New York. I don't know about where you are, but spring is almost here.
It does have that look about it.
It's almost that time, Paul. It's almost that time. We are live on a Tuesday here today. We're doing the show live. We do it each and every week on Tuesday, except for when Paul's traveling. Then we do it on a Thursday. So we're generally live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I should say. And you can watch us anywhere podcasts are available. You could download the show. You can listen to us. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/whatthetech. You could go there and fund us. And for all things, Paul, you go to thurrott.com. I got a message the other day, and this guy goes, hey, listen, why don't you plug all this stuff in the beginning of the show rather than waiting at the end? And I said, why? He goes, sometimes I check out early. I said, that's a pretty honest answer, so here we go. I'll plug everything.
We're going to front load all the ads. Here we go.
There we go. Paul, a lot's going on. Obviously, you're very busy. You were in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago. We went over that.
Yep.
You are coming to New York.
Yep.
When are you going to be here? On the 20 what?
It's 2 weeks from today, so the 26th. We're having a... we're calling it the Health of Tech. I would have called it State of the Union, but, you know, opinions differ. But anyway, it's kind of a live event with Brad, Mary Jo, and I at an undisclosed location.
Yes.
So you need to sign up and get tickets. It's free if anyone is around and wants to come. I think it's going to start at about 4 p.m. We're going to open the doors at 3. And then afterwards, we're going to go to Rattle and Hum West, which is the only Rattle and Hum now, I guess, and have a meetup. Which
are any of the people from East at West now?
I'm told that Agnes might be there sometimes. I was there. Remember that terrible day of the storm
that I did not come
a month ago? I didn't see her there, but I didn't see anyone I knew there. Other than, the woman who was kind of the manager, who was the manager of both locations was there. I don't know her as well. I don't even know her name, obviously, but I don't know. I think Agnes we should ask Mary Jo this show.
I miss the old crew there. I miss getting harassed by them. I miss getting yelled at by them. All of them. Pretty much all of them. Guys, we do have a lot to talk about today. I have a couple of things I want to show, and I also have this at the end of the show. This is going to be my pick of the week. I'm in love with this light bulb. I never thought I would say that in my life. I'm a 35-year-old man, and I said I'm in love with this light bulb, and I'm going to explain to you
about how you're using it, Andrew. What's happening?
Yeah. Well, you got to screw it. That's how you get it to work. I want to talk about this light bulb at the end of the show, and that'll be my pick of the week. Because a lot of you guys saw the changes we did to the studio. If you're watching this live, you can if you're watching the video, you can kind of see the couple of the changes we did here. We got a new shot. That's the guest shot, Paul, right over there.
Okay.
And we're using those lights there, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I'm going to bring it up today. So let's begin. I kind of want to talk about a couple things. Let's begin. I'm gonna skip the notes a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the Apple Services event that we're going to get on the 25th. What can you tell us about this?
Well, I mean, the going well-placed rumor is twofold, right? We're going to get Apple's news service, right? Not to be confused with the Apple News app, although that's probably how it will surface on your devices. And then, of course, the long-awaited Apple Video Service, which is going to be a Netflix-style deal where they have original content. There's some kind of monthly subscription free, et cetera, et cetera. And then the outlier, the one thing that people are really kind of hoping for, although I could picture this happening at a separate event with new iPads, but supposedly there could be an update to the AirPods. AirPods. Why doesn't that sound right? AirPods.
AirPods. Yeah,
Yeah.
AirPod 2s.
AirPod 2s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why that sounds weird when I say it.
Yeah. So
AirPods.
I kind of want to talk about this streaming service that they're going to offer. They're getting in the
Mhm.
game. I mean, that's a Netflix competitor now, right? Or a Hulu competitor,
Yeah, but
or
look, they're starting from scratch. I was just thinking about this today. Well, one of our other stories involves Hulu, and I don't, and we'll talk more about this later, but the entire notion of cord cutting and how that works, and what services you pay for and use, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Netflix today has established itself as the tier A content provider, right? Because it started out as one of those weird places to basically get a handful of decent movies, but a bunch of B level crap that was just like used to be straight to DVD or straight to video type stuff. And it evolved over the years to become like really valuable. It
yeah,
surpassed HBO as the premier creator of original content. And they've spent lots of money to make that happen. They have deals internationally with video houses all around the world, and so you'll see a lot of British TV, Australian TV, Canadian TV, Icelandic TV, Scandinavian TV, et cetera, et cetera. So they're a big target. And then there are other players that are kind of I place one or two tiers below them, like Hulu is in that list. Amazon is, and Amazon, it's a terrible word to use, but it's kind of the ghetto, I think, of this stuff. The interface is terrible. The choices aren't as good. It's
search is
just,
not great. Yeah, search is not
yeah,
great. They hit the nail on the head on a couple things here and there, but they're really not
yeah.
I
No,
mean, but
Amazon,
how could they be great at what they're doing if that's not their prime focus? In order for you
yeah,
to
pardon the pun, Andrew, right? So I don't, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, to me, I use this on a Roku. It's probably better on like an Amazon device, but when you go to the Amazon Prime app, I mean, it's the most cluttered down level UI I've ever seen. It's just awful looking, and they could do a lot by just doing a little, like cleaning it up or whatever. Anyway, but this, and then there are there's all these things out on the side, right? There are the premium cable channels which you can get an app for today, HBO, Showtime, and so forth. There are tier 2 cable networks like Epix and probably some others that you can get
stars.
an app for. Stars, yep. There's all kinds of free video services, most of which are ad supported, like Tubi and many others, Crackle or whatever that kind of stuff. And then there are even like TV network apps and services, like the CBS one, for example. If you want to watch that new Star Trek series, currently the only way you can do that is to subscribe to their service too. And so it's this big swirly mess of stuff out there. Oh, and
Yeah.
I should say Disney is coming soon. Disney has its own movies. Well, now it's a
With
multi-service thing, but
all the
movies
streaming
everywhere.
services available, if you kind of watch things that are not, uh, let's say Amazon exclusive or Netflix exclusive, you
Mhm.
kind of cable's looking good to you, right?
Well, I mean, everything has its trade-offs. Like I'll say, and this is a software problem. Like this is something that actually um, could um, be fixed. But one thing I miss, like we don't use cable anymore. So one thing I actually kind of miss is you watching a show, and there's a button on the remote, and it flips to the last channel, and sometimes the last two channels you can kind of toggle between the three. Like I don't have a service or a thing
Yeah.
that works like that right now. And like I that is kind of useful to me. But the overwhelming benefit of these things is great. And from Apple's perspective, they do have a loyal user base that likes to throw money at them. They are trying to expand their services business. They have a publicly stated goal. I think they have a privately stated goal that they haven't
They
said
have a
that's
set
much
top
higher.
box, you know?
They have a set-top box,
Yeah.
yeah, and so, but well, and they've also struck deals with lots of other places, companies to get their service out to smart TVs and soon to Roku and so forth as well. So,
Listen, also,
um,
here's the other thing, right?
mhm.
I'm willing to bet that when they announce a service, they're going to say, well, a 3-month subscription, you get a free Apple TV.
Oh, sure.
So they're
I
going to
mean,
be able to do that.
DirecTV did something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and they have enough services now that an Uber service from Apple could make some sense, right? They could combine Apple Music with this thing. They could even combine things like iTunes Match or some iCloud storage or whatever. I mean, they're getting to the point now where they have enough of this stuff that a lot of their customers are paying for 2 or 3 of those things anyway, and it might make sense financially based on what they're already spending.
Well,
So
I mean, that kind of goes into a deeper conversation here, which I do want to talk about. But before
Mhm.
I ask the audience, I'm actually going to ask this to the audience before we continue. How many subscription services are you signed up to, and which ones
Yeah.
are they? Because I'm willing to bet if you are a cord cutter, like I'm a cord cutter, I have no cable, but I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have Amazon Prime, I have
Yep.
Spotify, I have WWE Network, I have MLB TV. I
Yep.
have
I do too.
something else too. I'm sure I have something else. I have another very specific Japanese wrestling subscription. I mean, those are very niche, and you're always going to have that. But in
Yeah.
order to get TV access, I literally have Netflix and I have Hulu and I have YouTube TV.
Right. Right.
I'm paying like $100 and something a month to have essentially the same service across the board on 3 services.
So, yeah, that's true. So there's a little bit of complexity to that. There's obviously a cost to it. I was just talking, coincidentally, Brad and I were talking today about this kind of thing. We weren't talking about this exact topic, but we were saying if I was truly destitute, right? And honestly, I should do this anyway, but if I was really trying to like save money, you could make a good argument for just every month saying, look, this month we're just going to watch Netflix. And then when April 1st comes, we're going to switch over to Hulu. And then when, and kind of play
Sure.
it like that. And obviously there are some things like MLB TV, is something that lasts over a period of months or whatever. But, um, we spend a lot of time kind of, my wife and I kind of scrolling around with like just looking for something to watch. I mean,
Yeah.
we almost spend more time looking for something to watch than we do just watching something like where it's one of those things like you don't want to be like how weird is it for a human being to spend too much time organizing the TV shows they're later going to watch and in doing so waste time, but I mean we probably watch a couple hours of TV at night, I would say on most nights. And you know we've run through, I would say, most of the high quality Netflix shows that we want to watch, and there's
Yeah.
always something new. I mean, there's always something new, so you never know, but it makes it difficult. And there's a couple things on Netflix, Amazon. It's like we haven't really found anything we love on Amazon as far as, but we just get it. We have Prime anyway, so it's there. It's not. I'm not going to save money
It's
by
always
getting it.
just it's always just there.
Well,
I
no,
want to
it is
continue this
right.
discussion
It's a
for sure.
presence in most of our lives, isn't it? I mean,
Amazon Prime. The
yeah,
only thing
just
I watch
Amazon.
on
Yeah,
there, I watched. If I'm watching content on Amazon Prime, it was Man in the High Castle, which I haven't seen the last season.
right. Me too.
Um,
Which,
and
by the way,
my
is okay,
kids,
right?
it's okay.
No
It's
one is
fine.
gonna say that's the best show I've ever watched. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah, but it's okay to me because I really like alternative history stuff.
Yeah, no, I
And
do
I
too.
love, and I'm very much engulfed in World War II history and American
Yep.
history and European. Like I really enjoy that stuff. So for me, if Man in a High Castle doesn't live up to the expectation, I'm okay with it because it's giving
Yeah.
me kind of what I kind of wanted. For other people, like my wife, can't
Yeah.
really get into it.
Right. Right.
It wasn't her deal. So I don't know. I want to continue this conversation, Paul. But before we talk about it, we're talking about subscription services and the affordability and just what's a necessity and what's not. And honestly, backing up is a necessity here. And in the world of backing up, obviously you need to do it. I spoke about the great disaster of 2009 last week on the show. How I lost everything that I had because of my idiotic RAID setup that I had. I wasn't doing any kind of backups. It was just RAIDed 2 hard drives and was using them. And when the RAID collapsed and the RAID controller died, everything else went with it. I was not able to get it back. And I wish Backblaze existed at that point because just for $6 a month, you could have unlimited online backup, no gimmicks or add-ons or gotchas. Like some of those other guys, you could back up your movies, your music, your photos, your videos. I still have all my MP3s sitting somewhere in the cloud, even though I really don't need access to it, just in case, Paul. Just in case I need that
Sure.
remixed version of that Depeche Mode song. I have it,
Well,
just sitting there.
sure.
But in all seriousness, though, it's the important stuff, like your work, like your family photos, your videos, stuff like that. It's projects. I even have all my school projects from many, many years ago backed up right now. Over 750 petabytes backed up and counting. Over 350 billion files have been restored. Recovery data from the web. You could do this on your Mac, on your PC. You could recover in multiple ways. These guys are awesome. I absolutely love them. And you get you could try them out by going to backblaze.com/whatthetech. That's backblaze.com/whatthetech. Give them a try. You get your trial period. And after that, $6 a month. Not bad at all. I want to thank Backblaze for supporting the show. I really like these guys. Really, really cool. You get a 15-day trial, which is awesome. So let's talk about streaming services and what the future of this is. You know, in the notes, I didn't want to go to this quick, but I think it kind of makes sense to go to it now.
Yeah, kind of
segued
right into
so
it.
Apple now is getting into the streaming services game, which they have access to this, and obviously, I would imagine they would bundle everything with Apple Music and all those movie libraries. You know where they would benefit? The movie rentals.
So that's the thing. So it's funny because here's what I don't want from Apple. Original content, right? We have enough places that have original content.
You mean you don't want the Tim Cook genius story?
This is the problem. So Apple has a real nanny state thing going on, and you might have seen the stories over the past couple of weeks of the content creators that were initially very excited to sign on with Apple have discovered that they're getting feedback from Apple executives, including Tim Cook, who thinks their shows are too adult. There's too much swearing. There's too much of people being mean to each other. This is like an even more childish version of Disney occurring over there.
And that's dangerous, by the way. That's really dangerous when you reach that point of, obviously, you're already catering to the director's vision and the network's vision and the production vision.
And now you have to deal with.
And now you got to deal with the CDN's vision, not necessarily the network, but now you're the CDN.
Look, I'm not in the movie, TV industry or anything, but I know enough about it to know that this kind of thing is always the issue. Ultimately, what you have is someone who's writing the check, you know, and they come down from on high and they're like, look, this isn't what we were looking at. You see this in the form of movies that are changed at the last minute because people didn't like the ending or whatever it was. And a lot of times later, what you'll see is like a director's cut will come out and it'll be the original vision of the guy who made the movie, showing you the movie the way he wanted to make it before the studio got involved and screwed everything up or changed it in whatever way. Happens with TV shows, you know, whatever. The problem is the guys that run Apple don't know anything about TV shows or movies or whatever. And they have this kind of puritanical worldview that they've tried to enforce in their devices. You know, they don't allow porn and stuff like that, which is, you know, whatever, it's fine. But, and now they want to extend their control, not just to like the apps that you can put on the phone, but to the type of content that you'll actually watch or enjoy on the phone as well. And it's like it's a very predictable problem. But you raised the issue earlier of what I do want to see from Apple, and this is something I would pay for, and it's basically a Netflix style subscription for the A-list movies that they currently sell and rent via the iTunes store or whatever. Right? I would love that.
Anybody with kids also, like right now, my daughter is at the age that she wants to watch things that she sees. She's like, I want to watch Frozen, right?
Yeah.
You know how many times I've rented this from Apple? I could have bought it by now, but I keep buying rent for $3.99.
Right.
Obviously, you know, at $14 a month, they would probably lose money with this, but what's the number for them, right? If I want top tier, A-list tier movie rentals, would you be willing to pay $30 a month? Maybe $40 a month?
The thing
maybe
you're describing, it doesn't exist, right? For the most part, there are some kind of these services that you pay a monthly fee and you can see an unlimited number of movies in theaters in some cases or whatever, right? And there's some controversy around that, whatever. But the problem for the video stuff from iTunes or from wherever is that the pricing has actually escalated over time. So like a new movie today is $19.99 typically, sometimes higher. Google at least sells, I don't know why they do this, but they still sell 4K movies for more than HD movies. So sometimes over there, like a movie could cost $29.99. And then the rentals, remember the rentals were always like $2. Now like a new movie rental is $5.99 oftentimes, you know? And you know, this is called like people like me, like every Tuesday when they refresh the selection, I go to see like they have 99-cent rentals. I often will just pick those up. Like my wife and I watched a 99-cent rental the other night. Because I would never there's no way I would ever pay $6 to watch a movie in my house. Like that doesn't even make sense to me. But that's the price. And so unfortunately, for the service that you and I want, there's no price that would make any sense, right?
Yeah, it would
I mean,
have.
I think the cheapest it could be would be 19.99 a month, but
It would have to do with Apple would need to do some math, right? Where they say, okay,
yeah.
how many people are we
Mhm.
alienating from subscribing to a service like this by not having it, and how much money are we losing by having a service like this from the
Well,
people who are
and
renting movies?
it's entirely likely that the pricing that we see doesn't come from Apple or Google, right? It comes from these movie companies, right? And that the escalating price is these companies trying to, churn more money out of the system, whatever, which, which makes the subscription impossible. Like I just don't, if you think about something that's $20 a month and a typical movie rental is $5 or $6 a piece, you're talking 3 to 4 movies before you cross over the threshold, right? But the thing is, I wouldn't rent 3 or 4
Yeah.
movies a month at $6.
You
Would I pay
wouldn't, yeah,
$20 a month depending on the catalog? Maybe, right?
yeah.
And that's that kind of math is hard because you don't know what the threshold is for everybody. Different people have different price points or different value points, whatever it
Well,
is.
I think it's going to come down to listen, like for me, I would pay $24.99 to have unlimited rentals of their library. That's great.
If it was the whole thing.
The whole
If it
thing,
was
yeah.
all of
Like
it.
I don't
Yeah,
want it to be just this or just that. Like I
right.
want it 24
What
bucks.
what
You know what?
what
I can
about
cut
TV
yours.
shows? What about TV shows?
I, I'm I'm not saying they would do this, but maybe they're gonna have different tiers. They're gonna have their entry
Yeah.
level tier, and then they'll have a TV tier and a movie tier, and then everything. Maybe everything will be $40. Like YouTube TV, by the way, is charging 40
At a
bucks a
40
month now
$40 a month. I know, and by the
to
way,
get
so
live TV.
yeah, there are, I don't know, that's another thing, by the way, that the price has only gone up for some reason. Remember those services all debuted around 30,
Yeah,
35,
now
and then they
it's
all went up, and it has to do with, what they're getting charged. But there are some emerging, um, low cost live TV services. And I was, honestly, this YouTube TV is one I could drop because the truth is, like, we never use it, like, never use it. And depending on the time of year, like we would use it to watch football in the fall, right? But we're not using it now at all. And we have MLB TV like you, so I don't need it for baseball. I'm going to get this wrong because I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but it's very limited, but there's a service. It's called something like Local, and it is a local TV service, and it's free but ad supported. I if you could pay $5 or $10 a month or something and not have the ads, because basically every time you change channels, it runs a little
yeah,
ad
man.
for itself. Um, I would replace YouTube TV with that right now.
Yeah, it's
Which, by the
listen,
way,
DirecTV,
benefit of the
DirecTV,
service.
DirecTV now raised their prices too by 10 bucks.
They all did. All of them did.
Everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody. It's
Yep.
creeping up, and that's the thing. It's the argument of cable, right? The argument
Yeah.
is if I'm paying $40 a month for cable, and then I'm paying for Hulu on top of that, I could or $40 a month for YouTube TV, and then I got to pay another
Yeah.
$14 for and no ads Hulu.
Sure.
I'm better off just
I
getting
don't want to
cable
watch
again.
live TV. I really don't.
Yeah,
You
most
know,
people.
I want to watch stuff
It's called
after the
low
fact.
cast, by the way. Low cast.
Low cast. Thank you. Um, I'd like to have it there just in case. I mean, maybe there's a terrible thing happens in the world and I want to watch the news or whatever it might be. But um, the truth is we never turn it on. In fact, this is a good reminder. I'm going to get rid of YouTube TV because honestly, right, I would say from now through the beginning of the football season, I have no need for this service, like no need at all. We literally never use it.
Yeah, I'm actually on Lowcast right now. Yeah, so what it does, so literally all the live feeds for all the local stations,
Yeah. I looked at
plus
this.
some more, right? So you got like the other ones too. But let's say
Yeah, they
let's
have
say
it in
News
Philly.
4.
I'm sure they have it in New York.
Yeah, they got New York, they got
The
Boston, they
thing,
got Philly,
yeah, there's only a few,
Houston,
right? There's like
Dallas,
5.
Denver, Chicago, Washington, and Baltimore.
So the thing that I found with this service, and I think I must have looked at it on the Apple TV or something. Like it's it's a little head top heavy. If you change the channel, they play like a 10 or 15-second ad for themselves. It's like,
Yeah.
guys, no, no, I don't need an ad for you. I'm watching you, you know. But
Or
I'm sure
or
they're hoping. I don't know.
or Pluto TV. Have you used that?
No,
It's weird channels. It's a lot of weird channels. It's live TV. And then you have stuff that's not a channel, but like within the Pluto TV, it's a channel. It's not like a network channel. So
right.
you have like CBS SN, you have News 24/7, you have CNBC, NBC News, Cheddar News, the Young Turks, Newsmax for like news
So,
channels,
I
right? For
mean, my
example.
God, there's like, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean that's everything you would need.
something will emerge out of that,
Lucha Libre, AAA Lucha Libre for me.
right?
And then you got movie channels on there. So
Right.
I mean, it's like 200 and something channels on here, which is ridiculous, and it's free. This is a
Yeah.
free thing,
Well, free and ad supported, right?
free and ad supported. Yeah,
Yeah. So far, I found the ads to be kind of ponderous. Like when I use something like Tubi, like TUBI, it's mostly B movies. Some good movies, but mostly B movies. I haven't found the ads on that service to be prohibitively irritating. Like and sometimes it's kind of surprising. You watch a movie for like an hour or something, and there's no ad, and you're like, "What? How are they making money on this? I don't know." But
yeah,
it's okay. You
yeah.
know.
So this goes into a conversation that I want to have, and is there a opening now? Is there the need for like a network to come about that can subsidize some of the cost for signing up to all these premium services? So
Right.
could it be possible? And I know that it's a
Yeah.
complicated scenario, but could it be possible that you have a subscription company where you could sign
Mhm.
up for Spotify and YouTube TV, and you pick and choose, and depending on how many you get more of a discount on the price? I'm surprised nobody's
I
doing
mean,
it,
you're
and that to me means that
yeah.
nobody wants to work together.
Well, no, of course. I mean, look, everyone is trying to extrude the maximum value out of the content they have. I mean, the way that cable came about, like the way that cable is now, is a direct result of um, there being some network of shows where one of them is super popular. I'd have to make something up because I don't really follow this kind of stuff. But let's use the Disney thing as an example. Like Disney has Disney channels. They own ABC. They own ESPN, but they probably own like 20 other things. I'm just making this up, but that nobody wants. But if you want ESPN and you want ABC, you have to take the whole package. And so, you turn on your cable box and there's 1,100 channels and you don't know like, what is this stuff? Like it makes it hard to even, it's the abundance of choice problem, right? And then the other thing that happens, of course, is that these networks, for lack of a better term, renegotiate with all the major cable suppliers over time. The prices go up, because now it's like, well, we know that 33% of your viewers are regularly watching blah, 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 whatever it is, millions of people. You can't exist if we take it away, but we're going to raise the price,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, the alternative, which is what we're seeing today, is this electronic, digital, online thing where now it's completely a la carte, and now there are a million of them, so,
Yes.
um, Disney's gonna come soon and mess it up further. If you've got little kids like you do, you're gonna wanna get Disney because it's Disney, right? It has all that awesome content for kids. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm at the point in life where it's not having TV is great. Like, it makes tons of sense because we can choose between some number of services. Like, we kept cable longer than we wanted to because we had kids. You have young kids, Brad has young kids. I mean, people like you in your 30s, you have in some ways fewer choices because you have to, in a way. I know you don't really have to, but you
No,
you,
I know
you
what you mean.
do kind
You
of
kind of
have
do.
to, get
Yeah.
stuff that maybe you and your wife wouldn't get otherwise.
Well, I'll give you here's an example, and this kind of may hint at what Apple is planning. But Spotify and Hulu have
Yeah,
now come to an agreement of sorts where if you sign up for
right.
Spotify, you could get Hulu for free. It comes
Yeah,
together.
so there's a big asterisk on this
Yeah,
one,
there is.
which is you have to be new to Spotify Premium. So if you have a Spotify Premium account, or if you at one point had a Spotify Premium account, you cannot take advantage of this offer. The other asterisk, I guess, is that it's the ad-supported version of Hulu, right? So you don't even, I don't believe, have the option to pay a little bit more and get the non-ad supported version, I think. Um, I'm currently paying for the non-ad supported version of Hulu. We haven't done this yet. Maybe you've done this. Maybe you know the answer to this. I've noticed that a couple of new TV shows that are new to network TV are appearing on Hulu. Now, we don't watch Hulu to watch TV per se, but
Okay.
like new TV, but it's there. Like Whiskey Tango is some new show, for example. Don't know anything about it. But I see it advertised on the thing. If I were to watch that show, aside from the fact I'd have to watch it week by week like a goon, could it in fact have ads in it because it's a brand new show? Right?
Yes.
Did they do that?
Yes, they
do
do.
that.
So
See that?
ABC does that. They tend to do that on
Yeah.
their stuff. It depends on the network, but I know because I have the no ad version of Hulu.
Yeah.
And what
Right,
it
but
does,
you
it
still see
plays
ads.
it plays a 30-second or 15-second ad before the show starts, and that's it.
Oh,
There's
that's
no
okay.
mid-roll or anything like that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
But ABC
That's
would do
something
that.
Amazon does a lot of too, by the way. And not just Amazon. HBO does this. A bunch of places do this. Like you're paying for a service and you're watching one of their shows and they're advertising one of their shows on the front of it. And you're like, guys, I'm here. Like you don't, why would you make the experience worse for someone who's already paying you? But
Yeah.
it's fairly routine.
I would say also this is kind of a generational thing, right? Like none of my brothers have any kind of streaming service, right? They
Yeah.
don't have cable. They don't have cable. They don't have
Okay.
Hulu. They don't have Netflix. They
Okay.
get a majority of their content on YouTube and 20-second clips. That's what they do.
Oh, jeez.
Or
Right.
they use my family plan, essentially. I end up
Right.
paying for it and they use my family plan. But they
Okay.
all pay for Spotify. Every single one of them.
It's amazing.
Both my brothers, all their friends, their girlfriends, they all have Spotify accounts.
Right.
And they're paying for it because they use Spotify as their streaming music platform. This is that you don't see anymore. You don't see people using Google Music or iTunes even anymore. Even if I observe people on the train, it's all Spotify. This is a generational thing, and this is their way of kind of protecting the brand.
I don't like Spotify. Like I pay for it because my kids want it.
Yeah, I
Really?
love Spotify. Yeah, I love it
I
because
find the interface to be bewildering. I hate
on
it.
the phone or on the desktop or both.
On the phone. On the
Okay.
phone. Mostly on the phone.
I have to tell you
But
why
I don't really
I like it.
I put it on PC sometimes and stuff like that. I've used it. But I don't listen to music that way, right? The whole phone thing has completely changed, a lot of things, but one of them is the way I consume music, and it's all phone based now.
See, I'm the total opposite. I do not consume any music on my phone ever. If I'm going to work, if I'm going to the city or I have my headphones in, it's always
Yeah.
a podcast.
Right.
It's always something that's a spoken
Speaking of which,
word
by the
thing.
way,
Yeah.
This is a complete diversion. I
Yeah, go ahead.
apologize. What do you use for podcasts?
So people are gonna hate my answer because it's beyond boring.
You're going to say Spotify, aren't you?
No, well, no. That's one thing
Right.
I can't do. But if
Yeah.
if I look at our number growth for this podcast, which over the last 2 years we've kind of like peaked, and it's been a very slow growth or decline. Like we've kind of hit maximum capacity. We have seen like a crazy uptick in Spotify, crazy uptick, and
They're really pushing it right now.
And the age, however, is way younger than any of our other demos.
Yep.
Like if we have an older audience because of the content that we're talking about, but we have all of a sudden exploded with like this 20 to like 30 age group that's listened to the show, and that's because of Spotify. No other reason.
Yeah.
But I use if I have my iPhone, I'm using Apple Podcasts. I'm using their podcast app, which is terrible, by the way.
I think it's so easy on the Apple side to fall into that because it works fine. It's fine. But my whole thing is I switch back and forth, and I don't want to get locked into something that I can't use everywhere. And what I mean by that is it's not just even simple logins. It's the very nature of podcasts. You're listening to podcasts. I want this thing to know which episodes I listen to, where I am in an episode. If I pick up another device, I can just pick up where I left off. Like that's actually really important to me. And if you do that, if you use Apple Podcasts, you're stuck.
What are you using?
Well, right now, the reason I asked is I'm using Pocket Casts,
Which is a great app. Phenomenal.
except that they updated it recently,
Oh
and the
no.
update sucks. And it is. I have run into a serious problem because I'm literally binging a podcast right now, and I have been for months. But I'm doing it out of order because it's not like a serial thing. Like I can listen to, I just listen to the ones I want first. It is impossible for me to look at a list and know that I've listened to something or not, and it is making me crazy. And so I've been researching other alternatives because I just can't deal with it.
Yeah, I
I paid
I
for
have
this
a
thing too.
so I got into let me see, what am I listening to? A lot of, you know what's funny? I no longer listen to tech podcasts. Do you listen to tech podcasts?
No, I
I
never
really
listen to tech podcasts.
I kind of fell out of it because it got so cringy with the dishonesty. I feel like
Yeah.
we are
I,
to a
well,
fault. We are very honest about how we feel about a product when we feel it, right? And then we will go
yeah.
back and we will revise what we said, and like I'll change my mind on something 6 months from now, and then I'll be called a hypocrite because I initially said I didn't like it. But I go based
Right.
on emotion with that. You know, what I'm using is based on emotion and functionality. I never use the Apple Podcast app. I always use
Yep.
Pocket Cast or Stitcher, and I evolved, and now I'm stuck to using this. And I know it's not the best, but it works for me. I can't listen to a lot of the big tech podcasts because I feel like, and I'm not accusing anybody of this, but I feel like
Name names.
their opinions are swayed due to needing to get those review units in.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
if HP's giving you
So I don't.
a
That's
couple
not my. I don't.
laptops, it's hard.
Yeah. I don't have anything like that. I read a lot. I read a lot of tech, right? So, um, in my news apps or whatever, there's a lot of tech. I spend a lot of time on the tech stuff, so I read it a lot. I have no interest in listening to it. Listening to other people talk about tech holds
hard.
no interest for me. It never has. With rare exceptions, I should say. I should bring up the list.
Listen, by the way, with me saying that, like, I'm not counting you. Like, I listen to Windows
No,
Weekly. I'm not
fine.
counting you in this because I kind of want to know what you're talking about.
No. Don't worry about that.
You dishonest tech podcast.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know who you meant. I get it. Okay, buddy. I got it. I got you. No. There's something called the Internet History Podcast that I subscribe to. I don't listen to it regularly, but every once in a while there'll be a topic that I really care about, or a retrospective of some, part of it, and that's very interesting. I also subscribe to Scott Hanselman's podcast. He's a developer guy at Microsoft, and I almost never listen to it, but every once in a while there's a topic I really care about. But with those exceptions, I mean, I listen to music podcasts, movie podcasts, financial independence type podcast, travel podcast, if I didn't already say that. And then the Two Keto Dudes, which is the the weight loss stuff. But Tim Ferriss sometimes, but I don't really like tech. I don't know what it is. I might be just because I kind of live it, like it's too much. I don't know. But when I'm out in the world and I want to listen to something, it's almost never tech.
By the way, sometimes I go back into it. Like it depends on the swing of things. Like I'm going to LA next week. So actually Tuesday we'll be doing the show. If we're doing a show on Tuesday next week, which I think we will. I'm going to do it from the Ball Truth Studio. Yeah, I'm going to do it from LA. But on my trip there, I load up on podcasts that I normally never download.
Of course. Yeah.
That I normally never download, and I'll say, okay, you know what? On the way there, I'm going to binge on this, and I'm going to catch up to 5 weeks worth of whatever they're talking about.
Yeah.
On the way back, I'll do another one, and some of this stuff is stuff that I normally wouldn't listen to, like something I got into. And I'll give them a shout out. It's the Parcast Network, right?
Okay.
And they do almost on a serial level style. Yeah. It's like an NPR style, which is not my cup of tea when it comes to content, but I think these guys do a good job. So they do something called the Unsolved Murders, a true crime story. So they'll go through 2 episodes of stuff. Conspiracy theories, cults. So they had one on cults. They have one on, just going back down here. I have Joe Rogan here, so I listen to Joe Rogan all the time. That's actually one of the more consistent ones that I listen to, is Joe Rogan's podcast.
Joe Rogan.
See, I like him. I like him.
He talks too much.
He does talk too much.
Every interview he does with someone, I just like yell at him to shut up. Like
but he's high
I want to hear the
time.
person.
Joe's high.
I know, but I want to hear the person you're talking to. You don't have to tell David Lee Roth what it's like to be in the music industry. He gets it.
Yeah, I watched that interview too, by the way. I watched that
Yeah.
interview. Can I tell you, David Lee Roth is one of those people that I really like as an entertainer, but I hate as a talker.
Well,
I
he's an
was
insane person. I mean,
I experienced his first radio show replacing Howard Stern on K-Rock.
sure.
And he brought in
Okay.
his
Still a
great
traumatic event.
uncle. Yeah, he brought in
Yeah.
his great uncle to talk about his restaurant or club that he
Oh,
owned
yeah, no,
for four and
Cafe
a half
Wild.
hours.
Yeah,
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 there you go.
Uncle Manny.
Uncle
Well, so
Manny,
the
yeah.
reason, all right, so here's, by the way, this is a weird coincidence since we're on this topic. I mentioned earlier how not record companies, movie studios or TV networks will often screw with the content that people create. You might have seen this. Actually, it was on the Joe Rogan interview. He was talking about his radio show, and he said they kept coming down with like, you have to do this, you have to do this. And he's like, guys, this is not what I do. And it felt dishonest to him because he wanted to be himself. And they were like, no, you have to hit all these notes. And he's like, this is just never going to work. And
Yeah.
that's an example too of, higher ups meddling with a creative person and not letting them do the thing that they know will work. Anyway,
Also speaks volumes on Howard Stern's ability to do all that stuff and be entertaining,
Oh, of course. My God,
one in a million. One in a million.
The man's a god. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, a lot of my friends are huge fans of his. Listen to him every single day. Blah blah. We go on and on, but I'm not like that. I don't try. I don't commute for work or whatever. I don't listen to him all the time, but every time I do, I'm always so impressed. With just the kind of poise that he has. And the fact that he's done it now for what, 30 years plus,
100 years.
It's crazy.
He's a dinosaur at this point. I want to continue this discussion. We kind of went off topic, and I feel like it's always the more fun shows that we do when we do that. But I do want to take a moment and talk about our great sponsor, and that's Hover. Hover.com/WTT. You get 10% off your first domain name purchase. Since we were talking about Joe Rogan, I actually owned joerogan.co for a very long time, and I gave it to him. I also owned Thurrott.co. I gave it to him. I own leolaporte.co, and I gave it to him too. So I kind of buy these domain names for the fun of it, and I hang on for a while. And I'm not looking to sell it, but I have sold domain names. But sometimes I just buy them just so nobody else gets it. I have about 300 domain names. A majority of them are with Hover, and the reason why I go with Hover is because obviously they're an advertiser here, but before they were an advertiser, I was using their service. 2012 or 11, I started using them. Managing your domain names is super easy. You have the freedom to connect to any web host or website builder, automatically connect to popular web hosts in seconds, powerful domain name management, and they also don't upsell you like those other guys. Sometimes you go and you think you're paying, a couple bucks for the domain name, $15, $14, whatever some of those other guys charge, and then by the time you check out, it's around $70, which is wild. They hit you with, domain names. They hit you with support. They hit you with free domain name privacy to protect your context. With Hover, the free domain privacy is included. You also get best-in-class support. You get hundreds of extensions, and you have the option to use your domain name to send professional emails with your domain name that you've done. These guys are great. I absolutely love them, and they're hooking you guys up with 10% off your first order when you check out using the offer code WTT. Just go to hover.com/WTT and check them out. I want to thank Hover for supporting the show. I love these guys, actually. Another Canadian company, Paul. They're so nice up there.
By the way,
They're
real quick, because you kind of glossed over this, or we did. I mean, I think you were hinting earlier at the timing of the Spotify Hulu thing is kind of interesting because Apple's about to announce whatever they're going to announce. And we've kind of speculated that one of the things Apple could do would be combine its movie and video services into some kind of a broader, more expensive subscription service. And I think it's possible that this represents an attempt by Spotify to kind of dull that a little bit, right? Because by combining Spotify with Hulu, you get kind of the same thing. But of course, what you're getting is one of the better video services, not this new unproven thing from Apple that's not going to have that much content.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that they're doing it. I think that's the most fascinating part here, that they are they're doing it where the timing is more interesting than any other thing. I know that they were doing this. They had some sort of relationship previously, and to kind of push the PR aspect of this now speaks that maybe they know something about the Apple event, or they're making a very intelligent guess.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, even if the two Apple services were kept separate, so you have Apple Music, Apple
Yeah.
TV, Apple
I
Video,
no
whatever they
longer
call
go with what makes the most sense. And for me, I think having a subscription service to that A tier movie library and TV library would be amazing.
it.
I don't see them doing that. I think they're hanging on for dear life to that buy and rent mentality that's kind of going away. It's amazing how Apple's kind of become the old guys in this, right? Over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
They are where the music industry was and the movie industry was when they came up with iTunes and this availability to kind of stream and rent that way and purchase that way. Now they're the old guys where really you're not streaming the content, you're kind of renting a 48-hour period or purchasing and storing it in the cloud, which is a very mid 2000s way of doing things now. We're all about streaming services. So why not? Do you think if they had a $50 streaming service with everything on their library, it would make sense? Like what tier, what price plan is obscene at that level?
Yeah, I mean, God, you'd have to do the math on that. I mean, I mentioned I do the 99-cent rental thing on Apple, right? One of the other things I do is they'll every week they have some different selection of movies that are cheaper, cheap, like $5 to $10. And I'll flip through there. And last week I actually bought maybe even 5 movies at $5, right? $5 is a price where I'm like, if I'm going to watch this more than once, sometime in the future, it may make sense to have this thing. Plus, I also have this kind of idea that like it's sometime in the future, we're going to dramatically cut down on the stuff we're paying for monthly, and then we'll have this content, that we could enjoy or whatever. So for some reason, I do buy movies from Apple if they're cheap, you know. So like how many $5 movies would, well, I guess I'd have to buy 10, right? So do I buy $10, like 10 movies, or some combination of 10 $5 movies and 3 or 4 $6 rentals, which I never do anyway. I mean, I don't know that I could justify 50
Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious.
personally.
34.99, maybe that's the price point for most people. If you're getting access
Well, I
to,
mean, you could listen, if this thing, here's another way to think of it. I mean, we're thinking of this as movies, right? And of course, what you and I want is a movie subscription service, whatever. You know, if they could somehow get TV shows into this, right? Now you have to kind of add it up against the cost of something like YouTube TV, which is $40 a month, right? Now you're not getting live TV, I get that. But if you got access, like I mean, couldn't most people wait a day to watch the show? If you could get access to new shows the next day, ad free,
yeah,
I mean,
it
that
kind of
would
makes
be
sense.
incredible. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Listen, whatever they announce is going to be so lame compared to what we want.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens with that. I want to kind of show something here. I got something really cool. We talk about smart lights, and we do this a lot on the show. Paul, what's your go-to smart light?
Well, we've been using Philips Hue. The truth is, I feel like Philips Hue is going to be displaced because they're expensive. Even on sale, these things are expensive.
They're very
And so I
expensive.
think, yeah.
So I use so the smart lights that I've used are the LifeX lights. And the reason why I got it is because it was the brightest light at the time, and the Philips Hues had not been updated for a number of years. So I like the RGB lights. I like to be able to kind of set the different lights and use it in the studio for different things. So I kind of got stuck in the LifeX platform for a while.
Mhm.
My wife bought me the Philips Hues. Now you have it. It comes with the hub, right? Yours has the hub.
Yeah.
Okay. So I set it up, and I was not very impressed. And I'll tell you why. It had to do with the price point for these lights. They're not cheap at all. Especially when you go with the color lights, right? You're paying about $40 to $50. Those LifeX lights are around $48, $49. So I started looking for alternatives that are at the same level. And I was tipped off to a company called Yeelight. And I think Xiaomi, right, Paul?
Xiaomi, yeah.
Xiaomi, yeah. Xiaomi owns them. It's a property of them. So these are the lights, and they're about $20-something. I've seen them anywhere from $18 to $28, depending.
For what? For a light?
For a light.
Yes, that's still really expensive.
It's
That's crazy.
It's so cheap. Yeah, but you know what though? It's half the price of what
Yeah, I
LifeX
know.
is
I
charging.
can't believe how expensive stuff is.
Especially if you want the RGB lights, right? You want the color lights.
Yeah,
so
of course. Yeah.
I did a number of comparisons here. So I compared it with the Philips Hues that I have here. I compared it to the LifeX lights. And I have to tell you, these are probably my favorite lights. I like the Wi-Fi lights. I don't like the hub. Just because it works when I'm not here and I'm able to kind of do all that stuff. I like the fact that I have the Wi-Fi lights because they're also a little bit cheaper. These are Wi-Fi based. And you can kind of create the scenes and do all that stuff. But the cool thing here, and I'll show you, I've actually used it in one of my shots here. So let's cut to this. So that's a new shot that we're going to be using for a show. So let me see if I could change the lights here and you guys could see. So I like it because it's really bright. It's about 800 lumens. The LifeX is a little bit brighter. It's 1,000 lumens, so you get a little bit more color. But honestly, it's not that noticeable. So you could have scenes, you could have this, it's everything you could do with the Philips Hues essentially. This gives you a ton of options. Obviously, they're not an advertiser. I'm not endorsing them in any capacity like that. I gotta change the color of the lights here. Sorry. Let's go to one of them. So you could change the color to, I just changed that one. And it just, you go based on a spectrum and then you could just pick the color.
Sure.
Which are, it's absolutely great. And the fact that it's about 30% cheaper than the other lights.
No, that's a big deal. You should leave that on Patriots colors, by the way.
Yeah, leave it on Patriots colors. Leave the blue and the white.
Yeah.
I was stunned how good they were compared to about 2-3 years ago when I tried a brand that I wasn't familiar with that were like $30 lights, and they were absolutely terrible.
Right.
So, and you could still get and by the way, those terrible lights, I got to see the name. It was like Smart Way or something. It was just a third party Chinese company that put a couple LEDs in this thing and was selling it. These are actually impressive how good they are for the price.
No, listen, there are lots of choices there now. Philips Hue was kind of one of the early companies, and they're a big company. They support everything. So, this stuff's going to work with Google and Amazon and Apple. That's a big deal. One of the problems when you go down a path like this is if like with me, like we have several, I don't know the exact number, 4, 8, 10, something like 12-ish, 10 or 12 Philips Hue lights in the house. Now these things come along or some other brand and you're like, well, I'm going to buy these other things because they're exactly the same and they're less expensive. But now I have like a system, right? It's more convenient for me to be able to use the thing I already have. So it kind of behooves you to buy more of them. Or you have to use some kind of a hub, which could be, what do you call it? Apple HomeKit, or I'm losing my mind. SmartThings, I think, does this. I'm forgetting some of the other ones. But basically a front end that can control all the different systems together, right? So you can do like scenes across your house or whatever it might be. It just adds complexity. That's all. I mean, there's no, if I was starting today, I probably wouldn't go with Philips Hue.
What would you go with? Just a cheaper brand?
I don't know. I would go with something cheaper. I mean, one of the things, well, Philips Hue, because it's more mature and because there's more of it, they have specialty lights and things that they're doing that some of the other guys don't have. Like we use a couple of Philips Hue blooms, which are these, they kind of point up at they're like a little spotlight. And they sit in the corner of a room and they kind of light up the corners of the room, and they're just on all the time and they look great. We have like a Philips Hue light strip behind the TV as well. That I don't know. It's just it's a convenience thing. They're definitely they're not the best option price wise.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And LifeX is doing the same, and these guys are doing the same too. But I find it interesting how the pricing has dropped. And the fact that we're still looking at a $20 light bulb or $30 light bulb, and we're saying, wow, that's not a bad price.
Right.
That's part of it. But I absolutely love these things. And obviously I use it in my studio, so it would make sense for me. Most people don't really need to have purple and pink lighting in their bedroom, and it maybe you want it in your bedroom, but in your living room and in your
Well,
kitchen.
need is a strong word, but
some people do. They got to set the mood right, Paul. They're big on
well,
lighting.
no, the New York Times just wrote an article about when it comes to the smart home stuff that I think it was the New York Times. So somebody wrote an article about this, and they're right that smart lights are kind of the low hanging fruit for smart home stuff. It's the one thing that most people would enjoy and get value out of, and you can kind of cherry pick it. We found like we don't. There's no reason to put a smart light in every single socket, right? That would just be a waste of money. But in the areas where we do use it out in the sunroom with those bloom lights, for example, the light behind the TV, both of which are always on. We have a couple of other living room lights. My daughter's got these lights, and she uses them to kind of wake up, like they turn on over time. We have some lights outside over the garage. It's just it's not a need. There's absolutely no need to it, but we enjoy it. Like we actually do. It's like a technology that we've bought, we use, and we keep using it, and that's actually kind of cool because you know how it is. Like a lot of times, you buy stuff and then it drops off the face of the earth.
So if you want to check these out, I'll have a link in our show notes, obviously, and of course you could just search Ye-Lights, and I'll also link to the specific one that I have. Paul, for all things Paul, you go to Thurrott.com, obviously. If you're watching this live, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/whatthetech. You could fund us there. We're going to do our bonus show right after this. That's available only on Patreon, where Paul and I talk about whatever comes to mind at the moment. You got an extra 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is. Paul and I talking about a topic. Last week, I forgot what we did, but people really enjoyed it. We were going to talk about cars, but it kind of went into a different discussion. So... Which it always does with Paul and I. It always veers off, which is the funness of the show. Paul's going to be in New York. Can people? What's the detail now for this New York show that you're going to be doing, Mary Jo, Foley, and Brad?
Yeah. So if you want to go, you need to sign up. I have an article about it. I think it might still be on the homepage, but it's on Thurrott.com. What you're looking for, what you would search for. Let me see if it's still there. It might be off the front page.
I think it is.
So just search for Health of Tech on Thurrott.com, and you'll see the article. You just need to. We have a sign up page. If you're going to be there, we just need to make sure we have enough room because we're in a confined space. We can't exceed the seating capacity. We'll have a waiting list and stuff. So if people don't show up, but the thing is, again, we specifically are having it at the end of the workday. So if you can cut out of work early that day, it's not like you're taking the whole day off. If you can hang out for a couple hours at school, we're going to open the doors at 3. And if you can't, at 6 o'clock that night, we're going to be at Redl and Hum West. So anyone can show up to that. It's just an informal kind of thing. Anyone can show up.
I'll be at both. I'll be at both events. I'm very excited for this. March 25th? 26th?
6th. Tuesday to 26th. Yep.
Yes, Tuesday to 26th. So not this Tuesday coming up, but the following Tuesday. You guys are going to be doing it. You can follow me on Twitter at AngelZarian. If you're watching the show, subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We got about 80 people watching. You can hit that subscribe button, and it'll tell you when we're live. You can follow us. It's all the good stuff. And that's it for this week, guys. See you later.